Chapter 251 to 252. The evening was approaching, and Anko finally returned from her errands for Tsunade, providing the said woman a very humorous sight. She might have looked pristine, but her expression told it all without her even having to open her mouth. From the utterly fed-up and aggravated look, Tsunade instantly knew Anko had a very demanding few hours. And if the exasperated frown wasn't any indication, then the way she clutched a bouquet of roses, crumpling them without even noticing, gave Tsunade a pretty neat idea of what happened. She totally did not peek from behind the curtains when she noticed Anko's and Hiyashi's chakra signature stop in front of the Senju compound. So, Tsunade drawled, comfortably sitting in an armchair in the living room, lowering her book a bit to look at Anko with her sparkling eyes. "When are you getting married?" she teasingly asked, and had to instantly duck as the bouquet of roses flew through the place where her head was just a split second earlier. "Not another word!" Anko angrily huffed, squeezing a kunai in her hand, causing Tsunade's mouth to shut with an audible click. Tsunade's lips stretched into an amused smirk. Oh, she was going to milk this from all it was worth. Anko huffed and puffed, laying on the ground in the courtyard behind her house, while Tsunade stood above her, smiling at her in a very irritating way while clicking her tongue in tsk-tsk-tsk gesture. The ruthless woman even added waving her pointing finger at her just for dramatic purposes. Alas, Anko was far too tired. The only thing she could muster to do was give Tsunade a stink eye, but from the still amused expression, Anko reckoned it was not as scary as she hoped. "I must say, you have quite a bit of stamina." Tsunade grinned. You did this on purpose." "Ha!" Anko huffed out, realizing she had been had. "Of course I did. I had to see what exactly you are capable of if I am to make a proper training schedule for you." Tsunade rolled her eyes at Anko. "You would never go all out against me unless you were angry beyond measure. Our little discussion earlier today told me you would have subconsciously held back." Tsunade shrugged, not saying, "because you look up to me," in order to not embarrass Anko more. It was quite endearing to see Anko so hung up on what she thought of her, if a bit misguided. A shame she would have to beat that out of the girl. It wouldn't do if she compared herself to Tsunade too much and stunted her growth because of it. Anko took a long breath. "There must be a better way to do this than relentlessly tease me for 2 hours straight." She let out at once, needily gasping for more air right after she was finished saying it. Small details. Tsunade crouched down and put her hand on Anko's chest, slowly feeding her lungs with medical chakra, reinvigorating her stamina reserves. "Don't worry. A few years of training and you will be ready." Anko's expression eased up, and a grin formed on her face almost instantly. She could almost imagine her sensei's broken body, beaten black, blue, crimson, right under her feet as his life was leaving him. Anko shuddered from a sudden rush of pleasure due to her imagination. Tsunade inwardly snorted. Well, no wonder she looks up to me that much, considering how ecstatic her face looked when she imagined beating the crap out of Orochi. What the heck did he teach her anyway? There is definitely something very wrong with that girl. Tsunade awkwardly thought. Maybe that's why Hiyashi fell for her so quickly. A sudden realization dawned on her. He is a Hyuga, and they are all closet masochists. Growing up while practicing the chakra pokes of excruciating pain would ensure that. Figures Hiyashi would look for a sadist to match him. Then again, Tsunade couldn't begrudge Anko her personality quirks. She was a ninja and they were supposed to be weird. It was just an unspoken rule of the profession. "Are you sure I can do it?" Anko asked in a quiet, unsure tone, like a child seeking reassurance from her parent. Tsunade gave the young girl a genuine smile. "I am supposedly the best medic in the world. If I can't break your body enough to make it stronger, strong enough to beat down Orochimaru, then no one can. I will do my best, Anko promised, looking at the darkening sky and the rising moon, witnessing her resolve. Heh. Tsunade's eyes glinted with untold cruelty, suddenly making Anko feel a massive desire to back out. Of that, I have no doubt. I will either break you or I will break you and make you stronger. Don't worry. An untold amount of pain is guaranteed. I will use my medical expertise to very slowly rip all your muscles apart, heightening your pain tolerance and then rebuilding them a bit stronger, all the while you will study chakra and jutsu, focusing through the pain, training your concentration. Anko creased her eyebrows as a droplet of sweat rolled down the side of her face from the intense glee Tsunade was showcasing at the prospect of tearing her apart from inside out. Maybe this wasn't such a good idea. You know I am a sadist, right? I don't enjoy pain. I enjoy causing it. You will learn, Tsunade quipped, making Anko experience a chill rushing up her spine. Anko was about to open her mouth to protest when the back door to the courtyard suddenly flew open and Naruto rushed outside. Anko! 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 I won against Sasuke today! The excitable ball of orange stopped in his tracks as his brain finally caught up to his eyes, registering the situation. Anko was on the ground, looking very fearful, while a strange blonde woman crouched near her with amusement sparkling in her amber eyes. He honestly had no idea what to think, so his brain went with the first thing it came up with. The blonde one was clearly attacking Anko. Naruto had to do something. He pointed at her and screamed, "Oi, what are you doing, auntie?" causing Tsunade to almost trip. He really is annoying, isn't he? Tsunade mumbled, glancing at Anko, who groaned, the back of her head hitting the ground in a huff. Oi, I am not a... Naruto started screaming bloody murder. Naruto, stop pretending! She knows! Anko screamed louder, knowing that only being louder than him would stop him once he started going with his facade of an idiot. Naruto quieted down, looking at Tsunade as if studying her with his eyes, before he turned back to Anko. So, who is she? Your friend? Why did you tell her? Couldn't you at least ask me first? You know I don't like people knowing about my secrets. Is she trustworthy? Are you sure? Do you know her well? Won't she tell some... Naruto? Anko interrupted his tirade of questions, knowing he only did that to get a rise out of her. Unfortunately for him, she was far too tired to go and play kunai tag with him through the village. She sighed, idly rubbing her forehead, lamenting her fate. She just knew Naruto will try to mess with Tsunade, but... oh well. That's Tsunade Senju, our landlady, if you will. Deafening silence spread through the courtyard, strangely contrasting with the orange-clad figure who was giving Tsunade a complicated stare. Tsunade instantly understood. The boy knew she was a part Uzumaki and most likely was currently deciding how to behave around her. On one hand, she was a family. On the other, he never even met her and didn't trust her much. Anko, intimately aware of Naruto's thought process, scrambled to the side of the courtyard as far away from Tsunade as possible, the second she saw his eyes brightening in a mischievous light. No way. Isn't she supposed to be like ancient? Oi, did you just call me old, brat? Tsunade evenly asked, her eyebrows twitching. Naruto, reacting to the word brat, put his arms on his hips and cheekily swayed from side to side. I only said the truth. Grandma, oi, don't call me that, brat. I am barely in my late 40s. Tsunade loudly rebuked, irked. Naruto just pointed at her and shouted, Yeah, that's exactly what I mean. By average ninja life expectancy standards, you long overstayed your welcome. Needless to say, after that, she had beaten the everlasting crap out of him in an attempt to teach him some manners of talking to a lady, completely ignoring his screams about child abuse and brutal old women, or something. Danzo impassively stared at the worry-free clan heads as they slowly filled the council room. walking in lazily and without any motivation, despite the large threat that appeared just a day ago. Their attitude was frankly unforgivable, in his opinion. This was supposed to be how the people supervising clans full of trained killers acted? Nara looked as if he pulled an all-nighter, ready to fall asleep where he stood. Akamichi gorged on his third bag of chips, the previous two crumpled empty bags discarded in front of him on the table. Yamanaka, who watched his two friends, looked like a helpless sissy. Hyuga looked as if he desperately needed to go to the toilet, but tried to hide it behind a straight face. Danzo also noticed him from time to time, glancing at Mitarashi, who sat in the Senju seat by proxy. Now that was simply a disgusting thought. Mitarashi herself had her feet on the table, rocking in her chair while looking as carefree as possible, as if she could hide anything from him. The girl was clearly in pain from the bruises her surprisingly modest clothes hid. For a moment, Danzo pondered how she got these bruises, but then he discarded such thoughts. Considering Mitarashi's personality and rumored hobbies, he didn't really want to know what she did in her free time. She was not nearly skilled enough to be much of a concern anyway. Aburame was the only one who showed at least a smidge of decorum, but Danzo really had no idea if it was because of the man's stoicism or something else. The only visible thing from the man's face was his nose, and that was not a good thing where body language reading was concerned. Inuzuka. Not important. It was at times like this that his resolve to get the hat increased. How could he leave the village in the hands of these slobs? Oh, Hiruzen, the willfully naive fool. He desperately held Konoha together while the clans grew complacent. Clearly, the village needed a strong militaristic leader who would rule with a firm hand, not afraid of dishing out just punishments in his quest to set things straight. Just look at the Orange Menace pranking the village. The kid was what, 7, 8? And he already managed to evade some Chunins? What does that say about the quality of Konoha's forces? Really, Danzo always thought of himself as a needed man. The recent happenings in the village just confirmed it for him. The Uchiha planned a coup. What was he supposed to do? Wait and let them do it? Of course, he would counter-strike first. That was the whole point of having an inside informant, so they wouldn't be caught off guard. But no. Hiruzen simply had to try and negotiate with Fugaku, showing the man the village's higher-ups knew about their treachery, making Itachi distrusted. At that point, the whole thing was at the point of no return. The Uchiha clan simply had to go. And if he managed to grab some of the Sharingan eyes lying around, well, the better for him, no? Unfortunately for Danzo, the Yozora smashed that plan to pieces, smug bastards. They even dared to slaughter his root and brag about robbing the Uchiha eyes from him. He would not have it. It was time Konoha got serious and hunted these fools. Now, the only thing that remains to be answered is how should I manipulate my fellow councilmen to make Yozora pay? Danzo pondered as he noticed everybody was ready for the meeting to start. Hiruzen Sarutobi sighed as he watched the eyebrow of his longtime friend Danzo minusculely twitch every 3 seconds or so. It was a clear tick that the man was irritated. That would be fine. Irritated Danzo was grumpy Danzo, but it was nothing world-ending. At best, it was a sign of a headache-inducing meeting. But no, the whole thing became a serious problem when Hiruzen noticed the corner of Danzo's mouth twitch alongside his eyebrow. That meant Danzo was enraged, and that was not good for anyone, especially not him. Oh, I can already see the paperwork that will rain upon me like a vengeful banshee once Danzo does something reckless, Hiruzen frantically thought. He was aware of what got his friend so upset. Anybody would feel a bit off if a group of famous rogue ninjas decided to repaint your living room with blood and intestines. Well, at least it was not Danzo's blood and intestines, right? Hiruzen couldn't see what was the big deal. Covering his eyes with the hem of his hat while chewing on his pipe, Hiruzen pondered, "The last thing I need is Danzo lobbying for hunter ninjas to be sent after Yozora. Now, How to manipulate this meeting to prevent that, I wonder? Letting out a frustrated breath, Hiruzen deeply sighed. If only everybody was as easy to fool as Naruto, the world would be a better place. Anko sat in her seat, trying to avoid Hiyashi's gaze while inwardly feeling giddy, anticipating the happenings of the upcoming meeting. She could discern that Shikaku felt the same as her. The man was subtle, but Anko noticed he tried to hide his smile by laying his head on the table in the guise of being sleepy. It was such a natural sight she would have dismissed it if she didn't spend hours meeting various heads of clans allied to the Senju. Inoichi also threw her a short, worried glance, showcasing he was aware that something concerning the Senju clan would happen during the meeting. The question of involvement of the Yamanaka and Akamichi clans took hours to resolve because Shikaku wanted them to know while Anko was vehemently against it. In the end, they decided it was fine to inform them that something is going to happen and that they should support Shikaku if it came to that, but no important information was to be divulged to them. Choza seemed uncaring, happy with munching on chips, while Inoichi was as always too curious for his own good. Honestly, the man was bigger gossip than most of the old ladies in the marketplace. He just hid it well. Haburami seemed comfortable and stoic, too stoic for his own good. The man was a mask of hard-to-surprise coolness. There wasn't much that could cause him to show a reaction. Anko sometimes wondered if they have bugs bugging the entirety of Konoha. For example, the man didn't even twitch when it was revealed Itachi slaughtered the Uchiha clan. Everybody reacted but Shibi. Even the perpetually asleep Shikaku was for once awake and had this put-out look as if he just heard something extremely unpleasant and disappointing. Smart bastard. Anko was sure the man deduced what the massacre was about in under a few seconds after the announcement, while she needed Lady Tsunade to explain to her what that entire thing was about. As for the Inuzuka matriarch, not important. Just then, the Hokage deeply sighed before wearily standing up from his seat, sweeping the room with his tired gaze, showing a vulnerable look despite knowing it fooled nobody. The man had to enjoy his manipulations far too much if he didn't stop even in a room full of people knowing about his tendencies. After all, there was a reason why no clan head let Hiruzen in the talking distance of their heirs unless it was for the pre-academy motivational speech. Shall we start then? He more stated than asked and gestured for the ANBU to seal the door. Hiruzen then started calling the names of the clans, doing attendance checks. The civilian representatives who had no idea that something was going on, Nara, Yamanaka, Akamichi, Hyuga, Senju. Hey! Hiruzen pointedly narrowed his eyes at the unperturbed Anko. I ask for the third and last time. Is the Senju clan present? Wheel, Anko drawled, putting some chakra into the seal on her wrist. A second later, a loud crash resounded from the direction of the door as an ANBU flew through them while breaking them, and then rolled on the ground until he stopped a few feet in front of the Hokage's seat. Alive, but in a whole new world of pain. You gotta ask her that. Anko simply shrugged, pointing at Tsunade, who stood in the middle of the door, yet another beaten ANBU guard groaning on the floor behind her while she was giving Hiruzen a predatory look. Yes, the Senju clan is present. Tsunade grinned in the same way Tobirama always did when he was going to enjoy hurting somebody. Somehow, both Danzo and Hiruzen couldn't help but suddenly feel nervous as they remembered their sadistic teacher.